The sound of the slap echoed across the elegant hotel corridor, louder than the music coming from the ballroom. For a few seconds, I couldn't move. My cheek burned, but the pain wasn't what shocked Emmy most. It was the look on my husband's face. There was nitrogen monoxide regret in his eyes. Only anger. How dare you embarrass me? He whispered. I stared at him, trying to understand how the man who had once promised to protect me had just raised his hand against Emmy. Behind him stood the woman I had spent months suspecting. His mistress. She was wearing a stunning black gown, diamonds around her neck, and a smile that told me she believed she had already won. The gala was supposed to be the most important night of my husband's career. Instead, it became the night my entire marriage collapsed. My name is Claire, and for 12 years, I believed I had built a perfect life. My husband, Daniel, was a successful businessman. We lived in a beautiful house, attended charity events, traveled frequently, and were respected by everyone around US. At least that's what people saw. Behind closed doors, things had been changing. Daniel started coming home late. He stopped answering calls when he was away. He began guarding his phone like it contained government secrets. Whenever I asked if something was wrong, he'd smile and say business is stressful. I wanted to believe him. Then one evening, I found a message on his phone. I wasn't snooping. His phone was sitting on our kitchen counter when a notification appeared. Last night was incredible. I can't wait until we're together. There was nitrogen monoxide name, just a number. My heart sank when Daniel came home. I asked him about it. He became furious. You're imagining things, then tell me who she is. Enough, Claire. That was when I knew there was someone else. For weeks, I quietly investigated. I discovered hotel reservations, expensive jewelry purchases, restaurant bills for two, and eventually I discovered her identity. Her name was Vanessa. She worked closely with Daniel and had been appearing beside him at business events. What hurt most wasn't simply that he was cheating. It was that almost everyone seemed to know except Emmy. Then came the gala. Daniel's company was celebrating its biggest acquisition yet. Hundreds of wealthy investors, executives, celebrities, and journalists were expected to attend. My father had also been invited. My father, Richard, was a powerful and respected businessman who had built his company from nothing. Daniel had always treated him with enormous respect, perhaps even fear. That evening, I wore a simple silver dress. I wanted to look confident, even though I felt broken inside. When we entered the ballroom, Daniel immediately disappeared into a group of executives. And then I saw Vanessa. She was standing near the champagne table, wearing the same necklace I had seen on Daniel's credit card statement. My stomach turned. I walked toward her. Where did you get that necklace? She smiled. Daniel gave it to me. The words felt like a knife. I looked across the room. Daniel was watching us. I walked straight toward him. Is she telling the truth? His face hardened. Not here. Then where Claire? Stop. No, I've been silent long enough. People began looking at us. I didn't care. How long have you been sleeping with her? The room became strangely quiet. Daniel grabbed my arm. Come with Emmy. He pulled me into the hallway. I resisted. You're not going to lie to me anymore. His voice became cold. You are destroying everything I've built. No, Daniel. You did that then. Vanessa walked into the hallway. She crossed her arms. You should leave, Claire. I looked at her. You're telling me to leave my own marriage. She laughed. Daniel has already chosen. I turned toward my husband. Is that true? He said nothing. That silence answered everything. I felt tears building in my eyes, but I refused to cry. You've been humiliating me for months. Daniel suddenly stepped toward Emmy. You won't ruin my night. I barely had time to react. His hand struck my face. The world stopped. I touched my cheek. He had slapped me. My husband, the man who once held my hand during our wedding vows. The man who promised he'd never hurt me. Vanessa looked shocked for half a second. Then she smiled. I looked at Daniel. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. He sneered. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, the ballroom doors opened. A voice echoed through the corridor. She won't have to do anything. We all turned. My father stood there. Richard, his expression was calm. Too calm, he had witnessed everything. Daniel's face instantly went pale. Mr. Hayes, my father, walked slowly toward us. He didn't look at Vanessa. He didn't look at Daniel. He looked at Emmy. Are you hurt? I shook my head. Although my cheek was still burning, my father gently touched my shoulder. Then he turned toward Daniel. I trusted you, Daniel swallowed. Sir, this isn't what IT looks like. My father gave him a cold smile. I saw exactly what happened. Daniel tried to explain it was a misunderstanding. No, my father interrupted him. A misunderstanding is forgetting an anniversary. A misunderstanding is sending the wrong email. He stepped closer. You cheated on my daughter. You humiliated her and then you hit her. The hallway went silent. Then my father pulled a folder from inside his jacket. Daniel stared at IT. What is that? My father opened it. Your company acquisition. Daniel's expression changed. What about IT 3 weeks ago? You asked my investment group to finance the expansion. Daniel nodded nervously, yes. My father closed the folder. You assumed I approved the investment because I believed in you. Daniel's face became pale. You did approve it. I approved IT before I knew who you really were. Daniel's confidence disappeared. My father looked at Emmy. Claire, there is something you need to know. I frowned. What? The company Daniel is celebrating tonight would not exist without the financial guarantee you inherited from your mother. I froze. Daniel looked at him. What are you saying? My father continued. Your wife owns a significant portion of the assets supporting this company. Daniel's mouth opened. He had never known. He thought my father had simply helped us financially, but the truth was completely different. My mother had left me a trust before she died. I had never been interested in money. Daniel knew about the trust, but he believed IT was far smaller than IT actually was. My father had protected me by keeping the details private. Daniel stared at Emmy. Claire. I stepped back. Don't. He reached toward Emmy. I moved away. For 12 years, I believed you loved me. I do. Nitrogen monoxide. I looked directly into his eyes. You loved what you thought I could give you.
VA que ça issu des données à l'YB en RVOUS.
She looked at Daniel. You never told Emmy about this. He turned toward her. Not now. She shook her head. You said Claire had nothing. My father smiled bitterly. Interesting. Vanessa realized the situation was collapsing. She turned and walked away.
Daniel followed her. Vanessa, wait.
She kept walking for the first time that night. I saw Daniel completely alone. The powerful businessman who had controlled everything was suddenly begging the woman he had betrayed me with to stay. She refused. My father placed his hand on my shoulder. Come home. I looked back at the ballroom. Hundreds of people were still celebrating Daniel's success, but I knew the celebration was already over. The next morning, I filed for divorce. I didn't scream. I didn't destroy his belongings. I didn't seek revenge through gossip. I simply walked away, but my father kept his promise. The investment was withdrawn. Daniel's business partners began asking questions. The acquisition collapsed. Vanessa resigned, and within months, Daniel lost almost everything he had built. People later asked me why I didn't fight harder to save my marriage. My answer was simple. A marriage can survive mistakes. It can survive difficult years. It can even survive betrayal if both people genuinely want to rebuild. But IT cannot survive when one person believes they are entitled to destroy the other. Daniel eventually called me. He apologized. He said he had changed. He said he finally understood what he had lost. I listened quietly. Then I told him something my father had told me that night. Never confuse someone's forgiveness with permission to hurt them again. I hung up that night at the gala. Daniel thought he had slapped the woman standing in the way of his perfect life. He didn't realize he had slapped away the last person who was willing to protect him from the consequences of his own choices. And when my father walked through those ballroom doors, I finally understood something. Sometimes the person who saves you isn't the one who fights your enemy. Sometimes they're the person who simply reminds you that you were never supposed to accept being treated like one.